Let's make a little money.
Payday 2 is still the most popular release from Swedish game development company Overkill, even after 9 years and 3 more AAA game releases after it. One of the reasons that the game became popular so quickly was the popularity that its prequel, Payday the Heist, gained, as well as the unique path that the series took in regards to being an arcade or horde shooter style of first-person shooter. Payday 2 went incredibly strong for the better part of the 2010s, with Overkill releasing high-quality DLC that pales in comparison to what we get today. Partnering with movies and other video game franchises such as Hotline Miami, Hardcore Henry, Scarface, and they even partnered with Epic Games by adding the John Wick Fortnite skin as a playable character. Even Gustavo Fring from Breaking Bad took a break from his chicken restaurant business to go be Dallas's dentist in Washington, D.C. However, as with all good things, the game fell off hard, because in 2018, Overkill got hit with some rather major allegations that involved the Swedish version of the FBI.
Alright, things are really bad these days at Starbreeze Studios, as in people going to jail bad. The Stockholm offices of the Swedish publisher were raided by police due to suspicion of insider trading. At least one person was arrested. Authorities, they confiscated computers from the office, and again, a person was arrested. We don't have the charge yet, though. In a statement on Twitter that was translated by Eurogamer, the Swedish Economic Crime Authority said it has carried out a series of house searches regarding suspicion of insider trading at Starbreeze Studios. One of the searches was carried out at the offices of Starbreeze Studios in Stockholm. One person has been arrested and detained. Now,
after the Swedish feds raided the company faced some major financial issues, and with them being unable to recover due to the overwhelming failure of their Walking Dead game, their child Payday 2 came to find out what neglect feels like. And ever since then, the game has been a shadow of its former self, and in this video I would like to share my personal thoughts as to why. And so with all that said, I would like to share with you the problem with Payday 2. In 2017, Overkill made the announcement that due to the success of the game and the already overabundant releases of the heists, they would release the Ultimate Edition, where people could buy Payday 2 plus all of the DLC for the extremely low price of $44.99. And those who already owned the game could get the Ultimate Edition for $34.99. The entire list of DLC accumulates to about $200 to purchase. And because of this, the announcement of the Ultimate Edition was huge, and it would be very well received by the community. On top of the announcement of the Ultimate Edition, they also announced that all future DLC would be 100% free. And they held true to this for a while, releasing heists such as the Brooklyn Bank and the White House. However, after the aforementioned raid from Swedish authorities and the financial troubles that followed it, they halted all production on the DLCs entirely. Until 2019, when they announced that they would return to making paid DLC and also delisted the Ultimate Edition from Steam, where players would again have to pay upwards of $200 to acquire all of the game's downloadable content. On top of the broken promise of all future DLC being free, the removal of the Ultimate Edition, and the possibility of Payday 3 seeming ever more distant, the paid DLC released after was mediocre at best. While the cosmetics were not the worst DLC to come out during the return of paid DLCs, they still do not add much to the game, other than some pointless customization that they tricked people into spending $5 on. Additionally, the weapon packs that have come out are pretty hit or miss. Some of them have added great guns and attachments such as the Cartel Weapons Pack, and other ones haven't really added much at all, such as the H3 character pack, which I know is a character pack, but I mean, come on, that pack sucks. However, the heists that came out after the dissolvement of the Ultimate Edition, for the most part, have been very poorly made, which is likely due to a lack of funding. They are not very well received by the community either, with most of the DLC releases receiving mixed reviews on Steam. And one of the reasons that these heists aren't very well received is because of their tedious and repetitive nature. I can't stress enough how tedious heists such as Ukrainian Prisoner and Midland Ranch are to do, especially in stealth. Midland Ranch doesn't tell you how many bags you need to secure to activate the escape, and Ukrainian Prisoner is one of the most annoying track and follow parts I think I've ever played in a video game. Nobody wants to spend their money on track and follow missions, and heists with such buggy coding that the bag count disappears once you pick the first bag up. Then you gotta take a guess whether or not you secured enough to trigger the escape you haven't been keeping track. It's not worth the $7 they charge you to pay these heists, and I mean, quite frankly, it's just not fun. The heists also reuse a lot of assets from previously released heists, and one could even argue that some of these heists are flat out remakes. San Martin Bank, which admittedly is one of the better DLC releases, is basically just a big bank remake but taking place in Mexico. And two of the other heists, Ukrainian Prisoner and Breakfast in Tijuana, are just spiritual remakes of day one of the Hoxton Breakout heist. These heists are just boring. The only reason to even do them is if you're going for achievements, because there is no entertainment to be had in these heists. Now, not all of these heists are bad. As stated previously with the San Martin Bank, there have been some good releases as well, with Bullock's Mansion and the most recent release at the time of this video, Midland Ranch, being some rather enjoyable heists, apart from the problems that Midland Ranch has. But these heists are mostly just needles inside the DLC haystack, as the heist releases post-2018 have still been mostly unimpressive and boring. But at least the PC edition still gets updates. When Payday 2 first came out in 2013, it had a full console release along with its PC release on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 platforms. The console releases, while being less popular than the PC release, still got updated alongside the PC edition, but with the release of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One consoles later that same year, there was a demand for a next-gen Payday 2 release. In June of 2015, Overkill presented us with Payday 2, Crime Wave Edition, a next-generation port to meet the demand that had been present since 2013. It was a more successful console release than the initial release, and the console players even got some things for free, such as the Jacket Character Pack. Issues quickly made themselves known to the Crime Wave Edition in terms of support, however, as console players would wait almost an entire year to get the DLC releases that the PC edition received. This was present up until 2019, when the Crime Wave Edition was completely abandoned. Before we dive further into the abandonment of the Crime Wave Edition, I want to read a little excerpt to you guys that Overkill themselves wrote on their website in regards to the current state of the console version of the game, as compared to the PC version. I know that we have not delivered on the consoles as we should have, or even promised at one point. Where we are now, I know that we still can't. I want to change that for the future, but in all honesty, we won't be able to do that for Payday 2. Consoles have always been something of an Achilles heel in our production pipeline, and while we've made several efforts throughout the years to strengthen the team and effectivizing the PC production to better align to consoles, it still hasn't been enough. As of April 2019, Payday 2 Crime Wave Edition with its DLCs is almost caught up to PC, but not quite. We simply have too many constraints and available manpower to be able to fix the situation in the short term. We will, out of necessity, at this time, have to accept the disparity between PC and console versions for Payday 2 going forward. So basically, we don't want to update console, PC master race. Prior to this, the Nintendo Switch version of Payday 2 had already been abandoned. In 2018, it already had been several years behind the rest of the ports in terms of updates and content, effectively becoming the most outdated version of the game, excluding the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions. And after having not received an update since 2018, Overkill announced that it would drop support for the Nintendo Switch version of the game entirely. This would lead to them slowly killing off the Crime Wave edition, with the last update for it being released almost 3 years ago. For console players, there seems to be little hope for this game to be complete. So how can Overkill and the Payday series continue to thrive after the bad hand that they dealt themselves? Well, the simple solution that I offer is time. If they dedicated just a little bit more time to their DLC releases and updates, there wouldn't be as much laziness present in the releases. And I'm aware at how difficult game development can be, especially for a large game like Payday 2. I studied game development for almost 3 years in college before I switched to engineering. If there was ever a product I was not happy with, or I felt the production was too lazy or rushed, I would always take some extra time to make some little changes or look for some major bugs or minor bugs and just overall polish the game before I presented it. If Overkill spent a little bit more time on their DLC releases instead of trying to pump new ones out every month or two, I think they would be much higher quality and better received by the community. Although personally, if I was Overkill, I would drop support for Payday 2 altogether, especially now that the game is nearing a decade old. Instead, I would put all of my focus onto the development of Payday 3 and making absolute sure that the game comes out as perfect as it possibly can, in hopes that it rekindles people's support for the franchise and, most importantly, helps the company recover from the financial issues and bankruptcy that was gone through years ago. And according to Eurogamer, you guys signed a $51 million contract with Koch Media to help finance, advertise, and publish the game. Most developers would kill to have this kind of funding for their games, and the only reason you're even getting it is because Payday is a beloved series. With a budget that large, I know that if you just focus on Payday 3 instead of focusing on releasing DLC for Payday 2 every couple of months, you guys can make something special. And you certainly do not want to disappoint a publisher that invested that much money into your game. To close this video off, I just wanted to say that Payday 2 is still overall a great game. I still hop onto it from time to time, and I am still dedicated to finishing all of the heists on the Death Sentence 1 down difficulty. But I also think that it is time for both Overkill and the community to move on. Payday 2 is almost a decade old, and with the announcement of Payday 3, and its release date being estimated as soon as 2023, I think the time to drop Payday 2 in terms of support should be now, especially since support has already been dropped on all platforms apart from PC. All of Overkill's efforts need to be put into making Payday 3 as spectacular and grand as the game they released 9 years ago. And if Overkill wants to continue to be a successful company, especially after the company's continual financial problems after finding out they need to be government contracted to commit insider trading, it is almost necessary for Payday 3 to be as well received as Payday 2 was. And with a budget of $51 million, I know Overkill can make something special. Their team is full of talented individuals that know how to make something good when they are able to put the time and effort into it. We saw it 9 years ago with Payday 2, and there is no doubt in my mind that we will see it again. But as it stands, Payday 3 is Overkill's last hope. Anyway, that's about it for this video. If you stuck around until the end, I would like to thank you especially. This is the first ever video I've made for this channel, and I put about 5 or 6 days of work into it. I do plan to make more videos in the future, but I would expect those to be less opinion based and more informative than this one. If that sounds interesting to you and you would like to see my uploads in the future, then I would press the subscribe button down below. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and if you hated it, leave a dislike. Once again, thank you for watching until the end, and I will see you in the next video.